What's up, everybody? I'm Be True, and as promised in my list of 4.0 changes video, I am now going to do the list of main character changes in 4.0. I wanted to make a different video for the main characters because there's a lot to kind of talk about, and the list of 4.0 changes was already a long enough video, so I wanted to have the main characters in their separate video. If you have not already watched the list of 4.0 changes, where I go over all the changes that happened in 4.0, I'll leave a link down in the description so you can check that out. Alright, so here we go. If you're wondering where I'm getting this information, this is on the Naruto Online forum. So if you go onto the forum, here it's called Main Character, Talents, and Changes in 4.0. So I want to give credit to Acer1 right here, who compiled all of this for everybody. So if you want to see this for yourself, you can go to the forum and check this out after you're done watching this video, of course. Don't skip the video. Anyway, here we go. So let's start with the Lightning Main right here, Midnight Blade. So his mystery, Lido Instantaneous Flash. Before, it would cause damage to a selected unit. It would cause that unit to suffer from tag and paralysis. And if you had a minimum of 50 chakra points, the skill would not consume chakra and it would not suffer any cooldown time. So you could spam this every single turn. That is now getting changed. So now it causes damage, tag and paralysis. The paralysis only lasts for 1 round though. To a selected opponent's unit, and if the opponent's unit is already suffering from tag, the skill's cooldown will be reduced to 1 round. So now it has nothing to do with your chakra points. If the unit is already suffering from tag, then it's going to reduce the skill's cooldown to only 1 round. So you can actually use this every single turn. Okay? So that is if a unit is already tagged. Next up, the Midnight Blade's standard attack, Calm Mind, his healing one. Used to recover life based on 10% of the unit's ninjutsu, and also your team will recover or receive 20 chakra points. Now it is either 8 or 16%, so it's one or the other. Sometimes you're going to heal more, sometimes you're going to heal less. You'll recover 20 chakra points. Also, it will cancel all debuffs, and the Lightning Main will be immune to debuffs until the end of the round. So it's going to cancel all debuffs, and it's going to make him immune to all debuffs. So you could actually use this instead of Root of the Warrior. If you weren't running a full Lightning team, you could use this as your standard to keep the Lightning Main immune from all debuffs. It's actually going to make him a little bit tankier. He's going to have the chance to heal more, and he'll be immune from debuffs. So that's a nice little buff to that skill right there. On boost Special Assault Tactics. So this is the passive that grants the Lightning Main and the members in his team lifesteal. Nothing is changing about the lifesteal or the boost to the attack. The only thing that's changing about this skill is if you use it, Midnight Blade is going to have the Anbu trait. Okay, so they have the little traits like Konoha Ninja, Sword User, all that stuff. It's going to add Anbu to the Lightning Main. That's going to be important a little bit later on once they start releasing the Anbu characters, because Anbu characters buff other Anbu characters, so they'll be able to buff your Lightning Main as well. The clone skill for the Lightning Main now is going to summon 2 lightning clones instead of just 1. So you're actually going to have 2, again, making it a little bit buff, or not buff, tankier. A little bit tankier here because you're getting 2 clones out in front with 40% of the main character's body, or main character's life. The 2 lightning clones will use a lightning assassination sword as their standard attack, so they no longer cause acupuncture, okay? Keep that in mind. As their standard attack, and these lightning clones will last for 4 rounds if they don't die naturally. Last but not least, we have this Arena Prowess. So this is getting a pretty sizable nerf here. Before, every time a unit from the opponent's lineup was defeated, this unit's ninjutsu and attack will be increased by 20%. Now, this unit's ninjutsu and attack will be increased by 12% every time a unit in the field is defeated. So it's going to get less of a buff, but it kind of depends how, because every time they use this word field, it's actually used differently. So you're going to have to run some tests for that. If it is across all battlefields, it'll end up being a pretty nice buff, right? Because you'll be getting a lot of this 12%. If it's not across every field, if it's just your field, it'll be a little bit of a nerf because you're going from 20% down to 12%. So it is going to matter how the field term is a little ambiguous for some ninja, but it will depend kind of how that. So you can run tests if you're really interested in using this Arena Prowess passive right there. Now let's move on to the Water Main. So the Water Main's healing jutsu, that's her standard attack healing, it actually got a pretty nice buff to it. So before it would heal 1 unit with the least life and disperse all debuffs from them. Now it does the same thing. However, there is a chance that your lightning or your water main is going to heal 2 units with the least life points instead of only 1. So she actually has a chance of healing 2 people instead of just 1. Sort of like Hokage Tsunade has that chance of healing the whole, like, 9 people instead of just 2. Now she has a chance of healing 2 instead of 1 and removing all debuffs on both those targets. So that's a pretty nice buff right there. Her Soul Absorption passive has got changed into Nature Energy Gathering. Before, she would recover 10 chakra points and 10% of her life every time a unit died. It could be triggered up to 6 times each round. So that actually made her really tanky if you had a whole bunch of clones that were coming out all the time, because she was just constantly healing. Now, she will recover 30 chakra points and increase her ninjutsu by 15% every time a unit dies. So with this Nature Energy Gathering, she has scaling ninjutsu now. Can be triggered up to 2 times each round. Furthermore, she'll receive the Senjutsu user attribute. Kind of like how the Lightning Main got that Anbu, now she gets Senjutsu. This could be really, really good with like an Ito Datara, somebody who spawns a bunch of those little, the spider clones that blow up every single, every turn. He spawns at least 2 every turn, sometimes he spawns 4. And every time they die, he scales with his crit rate. Well, your lightning or your water main would now scale 15% ninjutsu, which is one of those. So she could actually turn into a ticking time bomb right there if you wanted to use her for damage. And actually, it would impact her healing as well, so she would heal for more. So both of those things would actually be pretty nice for a passive if you're running a high clone team. Then her water clone jutsu passive goes from... so that's all the same. Now has 60% of the main character's life, so it actually has a fairly high amount of your life. It's a really tanky clone. The clone's able to use water-style flowing whip as the standard attack, and you will recover 30 chakra points if the water clone is defeated, not 20. So you get 10 extra chakra points if the water clone ends up being defeated. And I think it's always been 60%. It's always been a really tanky clone. I can't 100% back that up, but I do know that it's a very tanky clone, and you get 30 chakra points. Her Curse Mark Test passive has now been changed to Experimental Ninjutsu. So before, if there was a Curse Mark type ninja in your team, the water main would have her ninjutsu and attack increased by 20%. So it's a pretty nice damage buff right there. Now, before the first action every round, she's going to cause damage to herself, kind of like... how Kabuto causes damage to the Curse Mark Ninja. She'll do like 1 damage to herself. After causing damage to herself, this unit's mystery skills cooldown time will be reduced by 1 round. So with this, every time before her first action, she's going to reduce her mystery skill cooldown by 1 round. So she can actually get to the point where she's using something like the Water Shark Bomb Jutsu every single turn. It can get to the point where she uses her heal in the first round and then every 2 rounds after that. So this Experimental Ninjutsu, I would say, is by far the biggest change to the water main, because it really changes the way that she can be played. It adds a lot more potential to her kit. Instead of just being a healer, she now actually has some really good damage options with Experimental Jutsu and this Nature Energy Gathering, since she'll be scaling up in ninjutsu. Kind of interested to see what teams are going to come up with this whole Experimental Ninjutsu change. Last but not least, we got Reserve Seal. So every time this unit suffers an attack, this unit will recover 2% of its life points, and attack will be increased by 8%. That is now being changed into recovers 3% of your life and increases your crit hit rate by 1%. So instead of having scaling attack, now you have scaling hit rate, and you recover a little bit more life. Probably a nerf here if you were using this for damage. If you're using it to recover life, it's going to be a buff. Alright, on to the Fire Mains. We got 2 down, 3 to go. Fire Main probably has the most changes to him. So... starting off with the Fire Style Phoenix Fire Jutsu. It used to cause ninjutsu damage and ignition to up to 2 opponents. That is all the same. Now, and this is actually, so pretty much all of the Fire Main's changes had to do with this whole Oboro clone. So if you use the clone, the Oboro clone, If it is present in your lineup, this skill's cooldown time will be reduced by 1 round. So if you use this, you can actually use this every single, let me check real quick, or I can't actually look at that, but I'm pretty sure you could use this every 2 turns, and so now you can actually use this every single turn if your Oboro clone is present. Fire Style Dragon Flame Jutsu. Same exact thing for this. The only thing that's changing is if the Oboro clone is present in your lineup, this skill's cooldown can be used, or is reduced by 1 round. So again, you can use this Fire Style Dragon Flame Jutsu every single turn as long as your Oboro clone, man, I can't say that, is alive. So Sealing Jutsu, Seal of Lotus. Again, same exact thing. It causes immobile and imprison to a selected unit. If an Oboro clone is present, skills cooldown is reduced by 1 round. So you're kind of seeing a pattern here. That affects these 3 skills. It does not affect the Genjutsu illusion mirroring. Okay, so it's those 3. Reducing, if the clone is alive, it reduces their round cooldown by 1. Whew, okay, so the Fire Style Flame Jutsu, the standard attack that he uses where he shoots out the fireballs that causes a 10 combo. The only thing that's changing about this skill is that it never misses, okay? So some people like Joni Minato, Masked Man, anybody that has a high chance of dodging cannot dodge this skill, okay? Hinata with her mystery can't dodge this skill. So it's a pretty actually substantial buff that you might not think about, but the fact that it never misses is really huge. So the Fire Main's Chase, Fire Style Celestial Prison. Used to, the attacked unit will receive, or chases low float and causes repulse, and it used to. This is actually just a change in wording. So now it's just saying imprison. Instead of explaining what imprisonment does, now it just says and imprison. So nothing actually changes there. The Oboro Clone Jutsu. So now it actually states how much of the main's life points. I'm not sure if that's more or less than it used to be. I have seen some pretty tanky Oboro clones. So I'm not sure if that's actually a change in the percentage or if they're just finally stating the percentage. But before, the Oboro clone used to use the Celestial Prison for a standard attack. But now, instead of having a standard attack, when it's the Oboro clone's turn to use his standard attack, he gives the Scarlet Blaze an extra standard attack. So your Scarlet Blaze gets to attack twice per turn as long as the Oboro clone is alive. Last but not least, we have the Death Mirage. Before each action in a round, reduces the resistance of all opponents in the field. Now, before each action in the round, up to 2 random units will suffer from tag. So this actually helps a lot with tag-based teams, which we're starting to see a lot more of now. That we have like the Raikage involved. You have the Land of Lightning Treasure. There we go. Finally got it right. Curse Hadan obviously benefits a lot from that. So now, instead of reducing resistance, it's causing tagged up to 2 random units. So we'll skip those 2 people because they got removed. Now we're down to the Wind Main. Wind Main also has, well, actually, Wind Main might have the most amount of changes here. Jeez. So the Wind Main. Wind Main's playstyle actually got changed a lot with these changes. So we'll go over that here. Her Hurricane Jutsu mystery used to cause wind attribute ninjutsu and would cause blindness. Now it causes wind attribute ninjutsu, blindness to a selected unit, and 1. So it causes blindness to 1 extra unit on the opponent's lineup. Her Giant Rasengan, same thing, ninjutsu and taijutsu to the entire lineup, causes repulse units, damage behind them, same thing, blah blah blah. There are at least 2 Breeze Dancer Shadow clones in your lineup. This skill's cooldown time will be reduced by 1 round. So instead of being able to use it 2 times in a row and then having it go into cooldown, now, so the Wind Main has a lot more of a clone focus to her, kind of like how the Fire Main, if you keep his clone alive, he gets a big buff. The Breeze Dancer has more clone producing moves and more clone benefits. So it will reduce her skill cooldown by 1 round, okay? Then, the Shadow Clone Jutsu, so her standard attack that produces a Shadow Clone. Now, it will generate 1 to 2 Shadow Clones based on 20% of the main character's life. Shadow clones are capable of using their taijutsu attack that have a high chance of causing low float. So I've actually seen people who have used, they've set up their chase based off of low float because they're so used to their shadow clones starting a chase at the end of the round every turn. Her chase, the shoot down Rasengan. The only thing that changes about this, it still changes or chases a repulsed to knockdown. Now it can be triggered twice every round. So she can actually trigger her chase twice with, and then also have the summon. So she can have 3 chases per round, which we'll get into in a second here. Her chase of low float to high float will now cause blindness as well. Her chase of high float to repulse is going to, after using this, Breeze Dancer will get an extra standard attack. So she can actually summon up to 4 shadow clones per turn if you were to use the shadow clone jutsu with this combo Blade of Wind. So if you had somebody go from low float to high float, she could summon them. They'll start the combo. Did somebody to high float, she'll do high float to repulse, and then she'll get an extra standard attack. Her passive Flower Guard, before each action in a round, it would generate a shield for up to 3 female units based on 20% of the Wind Main's resistance. It will also cancel 1 stack of debuffs for those female ninjas. Now, at the beginning of a battle, this unit and another random female unit in your lineup will be immune to debuffs and have a shield based on 40% of this unit's resistance, lasts for 2 rounds. So it's kind of like Root of the Warrior for the Lightning Main, except it's only for the Wind Main and 1 random female. So if you only have 1 other female, then it's guaranteed to be both of them. They'll be immune to debuffs, and they will have a pretty substantial shield there, 40% of your resistance to start the fight. Next passive here, Chakra Coordination. Before, if your main character's in the field, when your lineup recovers chakra, the units who recover chakra will get 10% of their life back. Now, the main character in the field, every time a unit from your lineup recovers chakra, they'll also recover 12% of their life. So, if you use this with Senjutsu users like Sage Naruto, every time he generates chakra, he's going to get 12% of his life back instead of 10. So, it's a pretty nice buff right there. 2% can add up. Her passive of multi-shadow clone jutsu at the beginning of a battle generates 3 shadow clone based on the original attributes, can apply taijutsu attack to the front line. Now, same thing, 3 shadow clones. It is stating the life points of those clones, so 20% of the clones, and it's just reiterating that they have a high chance of causing low float. I don't think anything's actually changing with this skill. It's just kind of better wording there. Last but not least, and this is where the chase actually comes into play. The chase changed to her shoot down Rasengan. Before, it used to be every time this unit triggers a chase skill, your team will receive 15 chakra points. Now, same thing, you'll recover 15 chakra points and increase this unit's ninjutsu by 6% every time it triggers its own chase skill. After using this, Breeze Dancer will be marked as a Senjutsu user. So, she'll be a Senjutsu user. You'll get 15 chakra points every time you get her chase. So you can actually get up to 45 chakra points every time you start a chase if you get the 2 shoot down Rasengans and the, your summon. So there's actually been some really interesting lineups that I've been seeing with the Wind Main where she's kind of like a second, third round mystery nuke kind of a character now, because she's able to generate enough chakra to get off multiple characters' mysteries in the second round. Then they use Dance of Impetus and use those same exact mysteries again in the third round. So you can actually really blow up a lot of people with some of the lineups that I've been seeing with the Ito characters that have like big ticket mysteries. You can get off multiple ones in the second round, do it all again in the third round, and you pretty much win. So that's actually a pretty big change there, especially because it increases her ninjutsu as well. Last but not least, we have the Earth Main here. So his Earth Style Superstone Fist Jutsu Mystery. Before, it used to cause ninjutsu and taijutsu to up to 4 units, cause them to suffer from knockdown, and it would generate a shield for the Earth Main by based on 20% of his resistance. Now, it does the same thing, but it will give a 30% shield to all the units in your lineup. That's actually a huge, huge buff right there. So not only is it a larger shield, but it's actually going to shield everybody in your lineup, okay? That's pretty big right there. Really big change. This doesn't get used very often with the Earth main because the double standard attack is a very nice buff for a lot of characters, but this is a huge buff that might make people start using this more because you can shield your whole team with it. Another one of his mysteries, the Wood-style Deep Forest Wall, used to generate a shield based on 50% of the unit's resistance, and you also receive 40 chakra points. Now, generates a shield based on 50% of the unit's resistance to a selected unit on the same column as this unit. So it has to be in the same column, okay? You can't just pick anybody. Moreover, the player will also obtain 20 chakra points for each unit in the same column. So you can get up to 40. Not guaranteed to get anything. If it's just you, if you're giving it to yourself in your own column, then you won't get any. But you can get up to 40. So pretty big nerf there. You have to set up your team in a way if you want to get the most out of that. Earth-style Petrifying Jutsu, his shielding standard attack, used to generate a shield up to 2 units from your team with the least life based on 20% of the unit's of the Earth main's resistance. Now it generates a shield based on 10% of the Earth main's unit to 2 units with the least life point. There's a chance that you might get 20%. So it's an overall nerf. Most of the time you're probably going to get this 10%. However, every now and then you will get the original 20% before that nerf. Wood-style universe, whatever the rest of that is here, used to cause earth and water attribute damage to the opponent unit in the front row and cause low float and immobile. Now, if this unit is surrounded by a shield, its standard attack will be changed to attacks an opponent's unit and causes earth and water attribute damage, and the affected unit will suffer from low float and immobile. The skill never misses. So the big change here is it will never miss. Again, I'm talking about Joni Minato, Mass Man, all that stuff. You can cause low float and immobile to them if you have a shield. Earth-style Boulder Jutsu passive. Before, at the beginning of a battle, it would generate a shield for all the units in your team based on 50% of each unit's resistance base value. Now, at the beginning of a battle, it generates a shield based on 40% of the Earth main's base resistance to up to 9 units from your field. This is probably a buff in most scenarios because your Earth main is going to have more resistance than most characters in your lineup. So even though it's 10% less, you have a higher base value, so you're probably going to end up having a buff in most cases. His Steel Body passive used to be immune to low float, high float, repulse, knockdown, and debuffs. Also have the defense increased by 100%, which is crazy. That's a lot. Now, becomes immune to low float, high float, repulse, and knockdown. This unit will also have its defense and resistance increased by 0.7% every time it loses 1% of his life points. So, no longer have 100% increase to your defense, but as you lose life points, you're going to have scaling resistance, which is going to also scale the shields that you get from either Earth-style Petrifying Jutsu or like the Super Stone Jutsu. Defense Knowledge passive. When this unit is in your field, your team's units will have their resistance increased by 60% and defense increased by 20%. That's getting a nerf to increasing their resistance by only 40% and their defense by 20%. So it's a 20% decrease of their resistance. Last but not least, we've got guidance here. When this unit is in the field, every male ninja in your team will have their combo rate increased by 40%. Now, not only will they have their combo rate increased by 40%, but they'll also have their attack, their taijutsu, increased by 20%. So if you're running like a Joni Minato, that would be really, really helpful for you right there. Extra 40% combo rate and an extra 20% on top of a scaling taijutsu ninja. That's big time right there. Oh, whew, man, that ended up being like a half-hour video too. All right, well, we had a lot to talk about. That's why I didn't want to put them in the list of 4.0 changes, like I said. If you haven't seen that video, the link is down in the description. You can go watch that now so you'll have a full broad spectrum coverage of all the list of all the changes that came in 4.0. A lot of things changed with the main characters. A lot of new strategies are being developed now with these the changes in these skills. A lot of characters are becoming more viable and have more options available to them, which is pretty cool. I do like that. I don't like seeing the same main character in every single fight. But yeah, Let me know down below in the comments what you guys are most excited for with these changes. Is it the changes to the Wind main and how she has a whole new playstyle? The changes to the Fire main and how he becomes like this really, really strong character when his clone is in the field. Let me know what you guys think down below. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you to everybody so much for watching the whole way through this video. If you want to help me out even more, you can refresh this video and watch the whole thing again. Maybe put it on play in the background or whatever. It really helps me out with the whole watch time stuff. So I do appreciate you guys supporting my channel. You guys are all awesome. I hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you in the next one, and peace.